If you've ever thought about being an actor, then I bet you've dreamed about that day you're going to be on set working next to that famous movie star. But have you ever thought about what it takes to get there? On today's episode, we will be talking about all of that and more. Coming up next on The Starting Actor. Hey, what's up? I'm Vinnie Horst, and this is The Starting Actor. I am a new actor starting out in the film and TV industry, and I bring to you my real-world advice and practical experience. So, if you are new here, consider subscribing. To the uninitiated, acting seems like a very glamorous experience. What do? You learn some lines, you film the movie, and then you go on tour, signing books and doing radio and TV interviews to promote the movie. And then afterwards you collect a nice paycheck, and if you're lucky, maybe even a couple of awards. Except that's not how it works as a starting actor. Being an actor can be a grind. It can be a fun and wonderful experience, but it is a grind. To give you insight into what a starting actor's life is like, I thought it might be interesting if I were to step you through one of my own typical weeks. Now, every actor's situation is different, primarily based on what they've got going on in their life outside of acting. So, let's set the stage. I am married. I don't have any kids, but I do work a full-time job. I work 40 hours in an office, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I like to go to the gym. I own a restaurant. I also have a regular social life like everybody else. And, of course, I am studying to be an actor. Now, there are a lot of ways to learn how to act. But for me, in my situation, with my schedule, the one that really makes sense for me is going to an acting studio. Now, if you had more time, you could go to college or university or even drama school. But for me, it doesn't make sense. So I go to class once a week. Now, if taking class was the only thing that I needed to do, well, then it would be a cakewalk. But as it turns out, there's actually a lot more to it than that. So let's take a look at one of my own schedules from last week. Hi, it's me. What you just watched was recorded a few days ago, and as I got into editing, I realized that I really missed an opportunity to get into some of the lessons that can be learned about class and preparing for class. So, I've decided to call an audible, and I am re-recording this. I don't want to bore you with all the intricate details of what I do during the week, but I do think it's important to go through at least one day in my schedule so that you can see what that schedule looks like and how I structure my week around going to class. All right, so with that, let's take a look at my Thursday. Now, I, for one, am a morning person, so on the days where I want to do some work on acting in the morning, I get up at 5:30. I then get some caffeine in my system, and then I'll do some script work. So, for example, I might memorize some lines, I might work on fleshing out my character a little bit, or anything else that I need to do to get prepared for the week. I do that for about 45 minutes, and then I get ready for work. I get in my car and I travel to work, where I spend the day at my day job. And on this particular Thursday, I put in about 8 hours from 7:45 to 4 p.m. And then after work, it's back in the car to travel home. Or in this case, on this particular Thursday, I went to the studio so that I could do some rehearsal with my partner. And when I was done with rehearsal, I took the rest of the night off. I ate dinner, did some relaxing, watched a bit of TV, things like that. And finally, when I was good and tired, I went to bed about 10:30. Now, using that day as an example, the days tend to repeat themselves. Now, on those days where I choose to get up at 5:30 in the morning, I don't always do the same thing. Because obviously on some days I'm feeling great and sharp, and on other days I'm feeling dull. So on the days that I'm sharp, I'll do things that require some mental acuity, like memorizing lines. And on the days where I'm not, well, maybe I might review some notes that I took during the last class, or maybe some character development that doesn't require too much thinking. Just coming up with some ideas and writing them down. And so as we go through the rest of the week, we see that I'm doing different things at different times, keeping myself interested. Doing some rehearsals, doing some self-preparation, but all with the goal in mind of getting myself ready for class every week. Now, if you've been thinking it's a bit strange that I keep talking about class as the focus of my attention, then I want to explain to you why I think of it that way. Now, first I want you to consider what it would be like to be a real and working actor, what life is like in that circumstance. Well, you get cast for a part, you receive your script, and then you learn your script. You spend a lot of time developing your character and figuring out how it is you want to play on screen. And then finally one day you show up on set and you record the film. Maybe there's multiple days of recording, maybe there's just one. It doesn't matter. But that should sound familiar, right? When we just looked at my schedule from last week, we see that I received a script, I studied my lines, I developed my character, and then on a particular day, Tuesday, I went into class and I performed. So what I'm doing by making class my focus is I am practicing being a real actor. Because at this point in my career, I'm still very new at this, and I don't have every opportunity that a working actor would have to be on set. So I make it up. I use class as my focus, and I practice those skills. All right, now let's go back to my schedule and let's talk about the day of the class, Tuesday. Now, just like it would be if I was a real working actor, I try to treat the day of class a bit differently. Now, normally I like to give myself a little extra sleep on that day, unless I feel like I need to work on some script a bit more. I prefer to get some sleep because I think that I need it. It's a busy day. And on this particular Wednesday, I did sleep in a little bit. Then I went through my usual routine. I got ready for work, I went to work, and on class days, I actually changed my work schedule up a little bit. I always try to leave class a little early. One of the things that I've learned about myself is that I need a little time to shift gears away from work and to get into the acting mode. When I first started acting, I would leave work and I would go straight to acting class, but what I found was that I just wasn't into it. My mind was somewhere else and I needed some time to transition and to get ready. So these days what I do is I try to give myself an hour between work and the start of class. I've noticed that as I've gained experience, I haven't needed as much time to get ready before class, but I think I will always take that time. It definitely works for me. Now, what I do before class is sometimes I will do a quick rehearsal with my scene partner just to get final ready before class. But when I don't do that, what I'll often do is I'll just sit in my car and read through my lines and just get myself into character. And finally, class is about to start and hopefully you're ready. But now you have a new challenge. You have to be ready when it's your turn. So let me give you an example. The classes that I'm taking right now are scene study, which means that your instructor gives you a scene, assigns you a scene partner, and then every week you come to class and you perform your scene. Classes are 3 hours long. So sometimes you get up and you do your scene right away, but other times you don't. Other times you are waiting for 2.5 hours. And finally, when it is your turn, you have to be ready. So as I learned from experience, this is a skill set in and of itself. It's something that didn't come automatically to me, and I had to experiment with ways to make it work. Now, this class experience that I've just described is actually very much like being a working actor. If you've been on set, you will know that sometimes the director is ready for you right away, and you can shoot right away, but other times it's 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours until the shot is set up and they're ready for you. So you have to learn how to remain ready at all times. So that, in a nutshell, is a typical week for me as a starting actor. If you do the math, I spent about 8 to 9 hours preparing for class and then 3 more hours in class itself for a total of 11 to 12 hours for a week. Now, as a starting actor, you can see that life can get pretty busy, but it can be done even with a full-time job. I expect that as I advance in my career, I will be spending more time on acting, but as it stands right now, I think this routine that I've got for myself seems to work for me. Which brings us then to the question of the day. Are you surprised by how much work it takes to be a starting actor? Or is it what you expected? And if you yourself are a starting actor, I'm curious to know how your schedule compares to mine. Leave me a note in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in. That is another episode of The Starting Actor. I am Vinnie Horst, and if you liked what you saw here today, then hit that like button and consider subscribing. We'll talk to you later.